Hi, and welcome to the F Word. I'm your racing driver and host, Daniela Sutton, and I am exploring the world of extremely fast females. This episode, I'm very excited to welcome another extremely fast female, one with a peculiar field of sport. Welcome to the show, sled dog racer Vickie Pullin. So, for everyone listening at home or wherever they may be, can you tell us a bit about yourself and what you do?
Yeah, so I race sled dogs and I race on snow, like people would envision. And then I also race dry land, so mostly on grass. And I race huskies, Siberian huskies, but I also race hounds as well because we do sprint racing, so short distances compared to long distance racing. So 5K on the dry land and usually up to 10K on the snow and anything from one dog on a mountain bike through to uh, four, six dogs on a cart or a sled. And yeah.
That's exciting. So, what's the difference between the different dogs? Because you mentioned huskies and the hounds. So, do they just get used in the different like weather and the climates, or like the different types of racing?
So good question. The sport has kind of evolved from the huskies, and the hounds are faster at sprint racing. So now most kennels usually um, have huskies or hounds. It's not as common to be doing both. And a lot of people start with huskies, and then I guess they kind of migrate towards the hounds. Although the sport is so much more popular now than when I first started, that a lot of new people coming in do just jump straight to hounds. Um, the hounds, like I said, they're faster and they're more purpose bred for the sprint racing, whereas the huskies are a little bit more about the history of the sport, which is kind of really cool too.
Yeah. Well, how did you get into it then? Because you mentioned the history, and I assume you've been in it for quite a while. So how did you actually get into that?
Yeah, I used to live in Canada and I did a husky ride when I was out there and it blew my mind. So it was amazing. That took me to Alaska and I worked on a with a commercial team on a glacier doing sled dog tours and loved it. It was amazing. I got my own husky a few years later, and then I was out working him and people saw and they were like, wow, that looks like fun. I'd pay to have a go at that. So I set up my business Arctic Quest. So I do sled dog tours in the UK. And about 3, 4 years into that business, um, which was amazing. Like I've created a lifestyle where I get up and do what I love every single day and get paid for it. So that, like, don't get me wrong, it's really hard work, but amazing. And then 3, 4 years in, I decided to go to a race and see where we stood up, and I haven't looked back. That was set up Arctic Quest 14 years ago, and yeah, now have a lot more dogs and we race all around the world. So yeah.
So obviously it's very hard on you. You said it's a lot of hard work. It's very hard physically, I assume. And is it hard on the dogs as well? Um, so do you have to train the dogs on like, you see dogs on treadmills and stuff? Do you have to train the dogs? And obviously you have to train yourself. So how do you keep up with that, I suppose, like fitness regime for both you and your dogs?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I've never actually been asked that. And that's also made me think how good my dogs have got it. They, and rightly so, they get treated like the real athletes. So they get to train, they get to use hydrotherapy, they occasionally have physio, they have the best diet I can give them. They have every single marginal gain looked at that can help enhance their performance. Um, so they are treated like a real athlete in this, and they need a lot of rest with that as well. But the person doing that is obviously me. So you've got to care for the dogs, train the dogs, make sure they get everything they need, and then on top of that, I need to try and treat myself like an athlete and train and rest and everything else. So I guess the biggest part of my lifestyle that is missing is the rest. For me, because I have a lot of dogs and it's intense. It's a lot of work. However, it's worth it. The dogs are amazing, and the sport's just a bonus on top of that. I think working with these animals it's just like nothing else I've ever experienced.
How many dogs do you have in total then?
46.
That's crazy. Can you name all of them?
Yeah. Do you want me to do that?
No, but would you say there's like a favorite dog that you have, or do you all just love them equally?
Yeah, no, they're all different. So, if you ask me like what my best dog is to race with, or what my best dog is for cuddles, or they all very like it's like a classroom of kids is how I kind of describe it to people. They definitely all have names. They're very big characters. These guys are part of my family, and I work with them every day. Like, um, and they are different. Like some dogs are cheeky, some dogs give me an easy life, some dogs not an easy life. Some dogs work better in harness. They're all so different, but I get a lot out of every single dog. So it's you can't really have favorites.
Yeah, so they all have very different personalities, so you can't really pinpoint a favorite because they're all so diverse, I
Yeah.
suppose. So do you have hounds and huskies then? Because you mentioned that you race both of them.
Yeah, so I've got mixed kennel. I've got three Alaskan Huskies, a lot of Siberian Huskies, and I've got two mid-distance dogs, Scandinavian Hounds. They're getting on a bit now, and I've got the hounds, which we call Greysters, and then I've got a collie and a Labradoodle.
So quite a range then. That's really exciting. I've never met someone with so many dogs before. So you must really love what you do to have that drive and passion to, you know, keep up with all of them because it must be, well, you mentioned before, it is hard work. Um, and it takes a lot of determination. So what I want to ask now is there ever been any times where you've kind of had a setback with your racing or whatever, and you've had to overcome that? Um,
Yeah, that like I mean, at different times, different things. I guess an easy answer to that is I broke my collarbone at nationals a couple of years ago, and it was 5 weeks before the World Championships. That was not ideal. Um, I still raced at the World Championships, and in the relay team, we won. We got a gold medal. So you just find ways, or you try your hardest to find ways to get around things. I think there's always setbacks with everything you do, isn't it? Whether it's the weather, whether it's an injury, um, financial. I think that's quite a hard one, probably for most athletes, to be honest, nowadays, especially. Um, but if you want something hard enough, you just look at it might take you longer to get to your end goal, but you can, I believe you can get there if you want it that much.
yeah. So am I right to say that you are the UK's leading female sled dog racer? Um, so really, is there like any like setup that you do with the dogs, or I say setup, but like a formation that you do with the dogs? So do you have like the fastest at the front or the fastest at the back, or how does it work?
Um, I think this is the beauty of the sport. I think because the dogs are not machines and things change all the time. So it might be to do with seasons, it might be to do with ages, it might be to do with young dogs coming in. But I've got the World Championships, not this weekend, next weekend. So we're like pretty big in the middle of like prepping for that at the moment. And I thought I'd got my team completely sorted. I was really happy with where we were at. We're going to defend titles, and I've had to rethink today, which is not ideal. So I basically got this weekend to sort everything out and make sure I put the best team possible. But I guess if you want to put it this way, my B team, who I wasn't going to race, were faster than what I thought was my A team, but quite a bit faster. Um, so that wasn't the plan. But I thought I'd test them, and I'm glad I did. So now I need to have a play over the weekend and then make a very important decision.
Well, good luck for this weekend, and I'll message you to see how it goes. But that sounds honestly like amazing, exciting. It's just so cool to me because I love animals. I had two cats here, and I've always actually loved huskies. I just love how big and how cuddly they look as well, which is quite exciting. Um, so you mentioned earlier that you do hydrotherapy, and do you do like rehabilitation for dogs as well? So does that go hand in hand with um your racing? And did that kind of develop from the racing, or did you already have that as a career or a job?
No, so I had a dog that picked up an injury, which is the uh, only real injury I've ever had. And we were out in Italy. It was a race, and he pulled up lame after training, and I'd never experienced that. And I didn't race him obviously because of that. And I got home, and I went and saw as many different experts that I could, which isn't necessarily always the best thing, seeing as many people. But the one thing that sorted the dog out was hydro. And so then, long story short, I started taking my race dogs to hydro for conditioning. I thought it was amazing. And the place I took them sponsored me, they helped me out, but I still paid towards the session. And then I thought, hang on a minute, I could pay towards my own machine and get my own tank, and it would be mine. So I qualified, trained up, qualified as a hydrotherapist, and then me and a friend set up the business together. And so now we run a hydrotherapy center, which mostly, I guess, most of our clients are rehab. But we do a lot of work with sports dogs and strength and conditioning as well. And obviously, my dogs use it regularly. So yeah, it's a fantastic bit of kit. I only say great things about it.
Yeah. So obviously that helps to improve the performance of your dogs and help you go challenge for that world title and defend that world title. Um, so I want to ask, like, it's been a passion since you were so young, and really, like, quite, you have to show a lot of dedication to this. Have there been any like sacrifices you've had to make since you started?
I think the biggest sacrifice that you make is the commitment to the dogs. So it's not, and I feel quite passionate about this. I mean, everybody's situation is different, so it's really easy to have an opinion. But for me, when I take a dog on, that dog is with me for life, unless I don't have the ability to look after it. And so the commitment of taking another dog on, you have to look at around like the next 15 years of your life that is devoted to that dog. And so I think that's the biggest sacrifice is the lifestyle, but that's the sacrifice that I wanted to make, and I'm glad I've made, if that makes sense. I have a daughter, she's 3, and I think there's pros and cons to it. I think the opportunities this sport offers to her is it's invaluable. Like she's traveled halfway around the world. She's 3 years old. She was out playing with a couple of kids from Czech Republic the other week, and none of them could speak the same language, yet they just played until the sunset. And you can't put a price on that. And she's not sat in front of a tablet. It was amazing. So I'm really thankful from our sport on that point of view. And there's so many positives, but I guess in a way, and I don't mean this like it sounds, but she has to accept the 46 dogs in our lives. Like I can't ever not feed them, not look after them, and not care for them. So there's a massive part of our day. But then I think that teaches her commitment, dedication, and things towards setting her up for life. So I guess I always look at things really positively, and I don't really see the negative side of things. I guess there's a lot of poo to pick up. That's not a great thing. But on the whole, I think our sport um, just brings a lot of good to our lives.
I know I certainly would have been as a 3-year-old, like ecstatic if I lived with over 40 dogs. It would have been like a dream come true, just like swarmed with loads of dogs. Um, but it has been amazing to speak to you. And it's been fantastic to have you on this podcast and learn about your expeditions and around the world with your energetic canines. And I hope that your story inspires others to strive for their dreams, even if they are against the odds, like you doing a snowy sport, typically in a very wet but not sunny country. Not sunny, not snowy country. It's not sunny either though. So this is the F word, and thank you for tuning in, and see you all next time.